last video we did was on the cars of the 60s of aerodynamics, and this particular one of the things I talked about towards the end was, or even during, was getting cold air to your carburation, because cold dense air makes more horsepower, and what we have a ram effect, which is trying to ram the air to the carburetor. And a lot of the manufacturers, Chrysler and Ford and even General Motors, had scoops or hood scoops to try to get air into the carburation and with more airflow. And this is called cal induction. And cal induction, basically General Motors saw that the air coming into this windshield would come and turn, and this would force air into this duct. So it's called a cal induction hood. And it had on the factory cal induction ones, they had an electric solenoid that opened up when you put full throttle, and it would let the air coming off the windshield be forced into the air cleaner assembly. So, this car in particular, we get a lot of cars come in with drivability issues, because most people, they'll take a brand new carburetor out of a box, a brand new distributor out of a box, and they just bolt it on and they think they're good to go. And that's not the case. You have to fine-tune everything to your application. In this particular case, this is a big block Camaro, 1969, which is a very popular year in Camaros, and this is a 396 car, which is very rare. And if this had been a factory cal induction car, it would have had some ductwork in here and a hole there with the electric solenoid, and it would have had a special air cleaner that took the air coming off the windshield and delivered it to the carburation or air filter assembly. In this particular case, he's got a cal induction hood, but he doesn't have a functional cal induction hood. Anyway, this is a big block 396 Chevy, and we're going to be taking it out because he's complaining that it has a hesitation, which when he goes to take off from a traffic light, she falls on her face. So we got to go out first and see what the symptoms are so we know how to address it. And then we got to get some specifications from the customer if he knows if it's had a major camshaft change, which it probably has. Obviously it's got headers, okay, it's obviously got an aluminum intake manifold with a bigger carburetor and fuel system, and we got to address all that. And normally we have to basically dial in the carburation and the ignition system to whatever cam specifications and all the configuration changes that have been done to this motor. This car's in for drivability issue. Supposedly it has a flat spot on hesitation when you're going to take off from a traffic light. That being said, we need to road test it first to duplicate the customer's complaint to see what she feels like, and then we'll go from there when we come back. We're waiting for the traffic light to change. We're going out to drive it to see if we can simulate the hesitation from the light. And it didn't do it that time. It took off fine. Trying to drive like the customer. We don't know if he's light-footed or heavy-footed. That makes a difference. So I kind of just eased into it at the traffic light. I'll maybe step on it a little harder the next time we stop. Felt pretty good. I mean, I really didn't notice anything. Didn't feel too bad. Yep, there it was right then. You felt it fall in its place. The warmer it got, the more the hesitation got more extensive. So the first thing my recommendations are going to be, we always go to ignition system first. And in this particular case, this doesn't have a factory distributor. It's got an HEI, which was called a HEI stood for High Energy Ignition System from General Motors. Distributors have 3 parts to timing, and that's the initial timing, which is where we turn the distributor. Let's say it calls for 10 degrees before top dead center. We turn the distributor till we get to a setting of the initial timing, which is turning the distributor. And basically when I said 10 degrees before top dead center, you're basically timing the spark to the spark plug 10 degrees before the piston reaches top dead center. Next would be the governor weights. The governor weight, the distributor rotor advances with acceleration based on RPM, and there's springs and distance. So we want to go in and recalibrate the curve. We call it curve in the distributor, which is how far do we want it to advance and how fast do we want it to advance. Mainly when it's an automatic, we try to advance them quicker and faster, and we try to limit the total advance. And then there's a vacuum advance on the side, which basically vacuum is load sensitive, so the vacuum going to the distributor controls the advancement of the timing also. Normally on a performance engine, we prefer not to have vacuum advance because vacuum doesn't react good enough for big camshaft. So we'll address that factor once we get into the distributor. But the first place we're going to go to is the distributor, see what the curve is like, check on the timing, and also you can put a vacuum gauge on it to get some accuracy, because sometimes your harmonic balancer that has the timing marks could have slipped and you'd get a bogus reading with your timing light because it slipped. So we use vacuum and timing light to do a comparison. After that, once we get what we call the ignition system dialed in, then we go to the carburetor and we check to see all the adjustments on it are correct, which is the pump plunger, squirter, if it's got metering rods, we check on what metering rods, what springs are in it, and from that point on, we play with power valves or jetting, depending on what carburetor.